All right, guys. Well, spoilers, obviously, just want a warning right up front. The good news is that we don't really have to worry about like the major spoiler anymore because even back during season 1, it was always like, all right, just so you guys know, we're talking spoilers for the games, and it's like because this is the big spoiler, right? That a lot of people don't know. Now, are there big spoilers for the rest of this season and the next season? 100%.
Yeah.
But this is the biggest one for sure. So yeah, much sooner than expected. But if you're following the game, which, the speculation was, are they going to follow the game? And if so, he's dead next episode, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't follow the game and they try to do what they originally conceived of Abby and them move into Jackson as refugees and then, become a part, I thought that might happen. I definitely thought that might happen for sure. But I was pretty unsure about it, and I was leaning more towards that they were going to follow the game because I don't know. I went back and forth on it. I think I said in the last video that we did that I thought that might be what would happen. But the more I thought about it and the more I looked at the trailers and thought about the trailers, it's like we see too deep into game 2 to waste 4 episodes of 7. Remember, this is only a 7-episode season. He can't be dead by 4, right? Like, that's just too late to get to going. And I think they just were like, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Half our audience already knows it happens anyways. Let's not delay the inevitable. And let's put to rest any thoughts that we may not do this at all.
Right.
Right?
I think that's smart. Yeah, I mean, it would have been kind of cool for sure to see like a different version of events.
An alternate reality version.
With ultimately the same outcome. Like we had talked a lot in the last video about like just, if Abby and Ellie, met each other before and had a small friendship or something blossom and just, that would have been cool to explore. But this is pretty faithful to the game. Now, the stuff happening with Jackson is very different. Everything going on there, like, that is, like, so new. And that's great, because there's a whole nother, like, layer to this now that's, the loss is, like, Joel is one of many now. But I like that they stayed faithful. I think that it has just as much weight as it does in the game. It's just a heartbreaking scene, especially with where things are gonna go. This is just the catalyst for so many things to come.
Once again, spoilers for like the game and story elements within it. I'm not gonna talk about massive type of things. At least I don't think. I'll let you know if I am going to do that. But I think that what's going to be interesting about this version of events where Jackson does get attacked by a horde and so many people are killed and Jackson is in shambles. Not only are they losing their main contractor, architect kind of guy who has been helping them. I mean, a lot of vacancies just opened up though, so I don't think they're not going to have an occupants issue anymore because they just probably lost hundreds and hundreds of people.
Oh my God, yeah.
But putting that aside, Tommy needing to be there is more crucial than ever, right? So the ultimate decision for him to leave, if they do stay faithful to the game, and thus far they have, very much so. There has been very minor changes so far, much like the first season, which is why I knew this season wasn't going to be much different. All of the big beats are always the same. And I don't know why I ever questioned. I just thought maybe they were going to try to ease the audience into it a little bit more, but fuck it. I support this. I stand by it, of course, because I love the first game, or the game, and this adaptation of it. But Tommy, is like alongside of Maria, like the leader of this town, And with all of these heavy losses, with the wall being breached, with everything chaotic like it is, Tommy leaving now is going to be even more of a conundrum that, like, he's going to wrestle with a bit and ultimately is going to really let down Jackson and his wife when he is the first person to run out to avenge his brother's deaths.
Yeah.
So I think that adds a very interesting element. There's a lot of things that have been added here that I think are cool for dramatics' sake. And we're going to definitely talk more about it because there was one element of the first episode that I thought of later, and I would have said it here, but I thought maybe it was going to happen here, so I put it in the comments and pinned it in the first episode. But it didn't happen in this episode, so I get to talk about it here because we do get the revelation that Eugene was a firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I had put in the comments previously in the other video, I think that Joel killed Eugene because Eugene knew what Joel did.
Yeah.
And he, you know, maybe it turned into a blackmail, or maybe it turned into a threat of some sort, and you know, they went somewhere together and he ended up getting bit, or I don't know if Joel would just straight up kill him in cold blood, because I don't know how much that would change the character of Joel. But if he just like is running from him and it gets attacked and gets bit and then has to like kill him before anyone rolls up on it, where he's like, I'm gonna tell them when they get here, and it's like, you're already infected, you're dead. I do think Eugene is gonna be another kind of nail in Joel's coffin, because we really need to discuss this. Joel, once again, he's the hero in his own head. He is not a fucking hero. Like,
no,
I love him.
Yeah,
and I'm sad that he's dead.
Sure.
But he is a fucking monster.
He is a bad guy. He's a bad guy that, like, wants to be good.
Yeah.
But he's just, unfortunately, like, has made so many mistakes, and, like, the biggest mistake is one that's very much, like, it's irreversible.
Yeah.
And I am very curious if we are going to get... I know we'll probably have a couple flashbacks with Joel.
100%.
But I'm curious about how many we'll get, because on one hand, like, so much of the story going forward is going to be, you know, about Abby and Ellie and the focus on that side of things, which obviously, you know, Joel is a part of both of their stories. But I'm more wondering, because like we had said right when the episode ended, like, you know, a lot of people watch the show for Joel. So it'll just be interesting if, you know, and I don't think anybody will complain because Joel is such a beloved character, but it'll just be interesting how many, like, flashbacks or how many moments like that we do get. I'm just curious to see.
I don't think that we're going to get many more than the game gives us. So, you know, the big one, the most important one, by far and away, of course, is Ellie's birthday and him taking her to the museum with the dinosaurs and the, like, what is that? The
like shuttle?
It's like a lunar, like, rover. It's like a lander. Yeah. Whatever they get into. That's crucial.
Yeah.
Where that will happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm trying to remember where it happens in the game. But if they really want to kick our asses emotionally, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in, like, Ellie's nightmare, where that's like what ultimately makes her decide to go out to kill Abby. Right? Where she's home in bed and she has this memory, this wonderful memory of Joel taking her out for her birthday and giving her this gift. And then she wakes up and it's like, this is what you stole from me.
I don't see that being... I think she's already 100% decided, like, the...
I'm just trying to figure out... I can't remember where it is in the game.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since I played it, but I'm trying to remember where they put it in, where Ellie is emotionally in that moment, where she is in the story. But that would be an interesting place to put it, because they are doing things different than the game as far as the construction of the timeline.
Yeah.
It is linear, and it hasn't changed the timeline per se. It's just how it's being, doled out to us. It's all over the place in the game. In this, it's just straightforward.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know? So
yeah, we'll see.
All right, let's start at the beginning here. Now we get Abby's classic nightmare that she has multiple times in the game. She's hearing the siren going off. She's walking down the infamous hall that leads her to finding her dad's body. Now, the change that's been made here is that instead of walking to the end of the hall and finding her dad's body, she sees her present self talking to her past self and telling her, like, pleading with her, like, don't go down there. Just don't even do it to yourself, because she keeps reliving this nightmare, and to her, she doesn't want to relive it.
Yeah.
Right? This is so traumatic to her that she's trying to save her younger self, because she's so broken from what she sees that she's making this attempt to retroactively kind of go back in time and stop herself from seeing this horrendous event that changes her into the person she becomes. Joel makes her the monster. Monsters, do monstrous acts and create new monsters.
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely trying to stop a part of herself from just feeling that pain over and over again. And, she thinks that killing Joel is what will stop it. Like, that's what will be, the revenge, the retribution will end the pain that she feels.
Yeah.
But like everybody always says in movies and books and whatever, killing somebody doesn't bring the other person back.
Yeah.
And that's very true, and with where her character arc goes from here, it's just, it doesn't improve the way that she thinks it's going to. She's very stubborn and very set on this, and it happens, like the way that Joel just kind of like falls into her lap, is sort of like, this is what's meant to happen, like it's meant to be.
Fate, yeah.
It's destiny.
Yeah.
And it's very tragic. Everybody in this game, Joel, Ellie, and Abby, and tons of other people, but those three especially, have just such tragic stories that you're just like, no. You don't want them to be in pain and suffer, but they do.
Yeah, you want them to make better decisions, but
yes.
At the same time, it's like,
they're only human.
If Abby killed Ellie,
sure,
Joel would go across any amount of land. And here's the thing, like, this is why I think this story is so important, and how we perceive things from a bias standpoint is, if Joel went on this quest for revenge for the exact same thing, when we got to know him, you would be on his side.
Sure, you'd be like, yeah, it makes sense.
And because we know Joel's story, you're supposed to vilify Abby, but Abby's not doing anything that Joel wouldn't do, and you would support Joel doing it, or at least you would look the other way, because I think that's what a lot of people have to do with Joel. Was Joel right is the big question of season 1, and it's kind of a big 50-50 split. It's a moral gray area.
Sure.
It's like, is he, they're trying to kill this little girl, he can't lose another daughter, the gig. So
well, yeah, but I mean, it ultimately comes down to, like, everybody is somebody's loved one in some sense, right? Abby lost her dad, and Joel's preventing people from killing Ellie. Now, the big difference, obviously, with what Joel does is that there's a chance to save so many people.
Oh my God.
Whereas with Abby, she's not preventing some positive from happening with Joel staying alive.
Yeah, but...
And I'm not saying that makes it better. I'm just saying that, like, that's the moral dilemma of Joel's choice. But at the end of the day, everybody has a loved one that they would want to kill for or die for or anything. So it is all about perspective. And with Abby's story, like we talked about right when the episode ended, like, and this is the game as well, is how do you get the audience now that she's done this, horrible act, unforgivable act, how do you get them to be understanding and empathetic of her side of things?
I think they already laid the groundwork for that, and they're going to go through their emotions, right? And they're going to hate her as, anybody would when you're killing a loved one or somebody that you care for, right? But they've laid more groundwork here than they did in the game. And Abby is like, as is beloved to me by the end of game 2 as Joel or Ellie are. So if they can pull it off there, and the audience that I think honestly, okay, for like new viewers, they'll say, right, people who don't know the story, there's going to be the gamers who hated it, and they're going to hate it.
Yeah,
they're not going to change their mind. They did it almost exactly the same. They hate it. They're going to review bomb this episode. You go on IMDb tomorrow, it's going to be at like a 5 point something, because this is that story that they hate, and they held out hope. You saw a lot of shit being like, now they can fix the story. There's no way they'll fuck it up again. They're not going to do that shit again. And I was always sitting there reading it being like, bro, they're not going to change it. It's not going to happen. Let it go.
Yeah.
You just move on to a different thing. Find another show. Find another fucking game. For the people who love it, like us, we have our thing, and you want to ignore the second one, that's all fine and well. I have a feeling you're probably going to get a split pretty similar to what you saw in Gamers. Now, with this, there wasn't early leaks. That being said, we did know, like, this game came out in 2018.
Yeah.
How many people... Now, if you're not just, like, hyper online and, like, you're just like a random general audience member and you're just watching the show, it's really going to depend on what you're there for, right? Ned Stark gets killed off at the end of Game of Thrones season 1. People loved that. They were like, holy shit, something new. It's interesting. It's fresh. Yeah. That became like the biggest show on planet Earth. It all just depends. I don't know how this is going to be received.
Yeah, I'm really curious. But as you said, too, so the way that Joel dies in the game, although everything is pretty much the same, it's a lot more brutal. In the game, he gets his head bashed in. Yeah. And it's very intense, whereas in this, she stabs him, through the neck. Yeah. I mean, he's still, like, his face is all busted up, but... It's less visceral feeling than in the game when you really are like, oh my god. And
it was definitely a compromise for the like general audience, because they learned their lesson from Walking Dead. You can't just sit there and bash a guy's head in so brutally and expect the audience to kind of just take it. So
yeah. We'll see. I mean, this could definitely be a huge, if so much viewership falls off from this, I mean, that's obviously, I know it got renewed for another season, but still, it's like that could change things entirely for them, right? Like,
HBO is going to go through with this story no matter what.
Yeah, I don't see that that's going to be such a huge impact, but, we'll see. There are tons of haters and trolls that might... do something about ratings and whatnot, but...
So you have the trolls who... And if you don't like this story, you're not a troll. I'm not saying that.
No.
There's a difference between somebody who just genuinely is like, I don't like that they went this way. I feel like they could have went a different way with the story. I love Joel. I don't want a game without him. Yeah. I hate Abby. I never liked her. Whatever. That's fine. Totally. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Trolls are people who have made it their fucking life's ambition to destroy this game, who send death threats to the creators, who, bitch about it every single day online. They fucking make it a part of their identity. That's a fucking troll.
Yeah.
Those people have been awakened again. Much like, the infected buried under the snow. You're going to see them pop up out of the ground, out of hibernation, and they are going to be rallying the troops, and they are going to be trying to turn every possible fence sitter. Like, this is very almost political in that way, where you get enough angry voices and there's enough of that kind of mob mentality, the sheepish behavior of people who like to hate on things, and it becomes the new thing to hate, right? Snow White was the last thing, and you just keep going back and back. There's always that thing of the week or that thing of the month that is like the most hated thing online, and people really get this sense of like community in hating things and grouping together and review bombing and making sure everyone they know around them and they make like bot accounts to go. It's fucking pathetic is what it is. And I can absolutely see this being version 2.0 where they've been waiting for this episode and they're like, yes, it's our time again.
Yeah.
And they'll try to sway public opinion. The good thing is that I do believe that a good majority of the viewership of this show, because it's HBO, is older than 20. I think a lot of the viewership is, and they don't give a fuck what people are saying online, and they won't have their minds changed at all. You might see ratings dips and whatever in like IMDb, but as far as the viewership of the show, you'll see some drop off because there's a lot of girls who are like, oh my god, Pedro, he's the greatest thing ever. And they're gonna be like, I'm done with the show. I don't want to watch it. Pedro's gone, I'm out. You will see that. You will probably see I'll say a 10 to 15% drop off.
Yeah. Well, we shall see. But yeah, the other like big thing of this episode is everything that happens with Jackson.
Well, before we jump into that, let's just make sure we get our clubs lined up and
too soon
do some swinging.
Too soon.
Yeah, I mean, when Abby is in the lodge or the resort or whatever, what did she call it?
Lodge?
Is it what that was?
Is what she said. That's what it is.
We see the golf clubs in the background.
Oh my god.
And when I saw those, I was like, okay, either A, we're doing it this episode, or B, that's an Easter egg. Like, hey, we acknowledged that's what happened in the last time, but this time we're changing things up.
Nope.
So I saw it and I was like, ooh, I think he's dying this episode.
Yes.
I was pretty sure, but I was like, that might be an Easter egg for later. We'll see. Oh yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
No,
not
an Easter egg. Very much an actionable like item.
Do you think they handled this in a way that the general audience is going to accept what happened and be okay with it?
I don't know. I mean, we kind of have already talked about it.
Because we already know.
So,
like, if we didn't know, and we were watching this for the very first time,
it'd be shocking. It would for sure. I mean, it's shocking when you first go through it.
Yeah,
it really is. It's like I know you kind of had some stuff. You had stuff spoiled for you, obviously, but I didn't. When we played the game, when I played it the first time, I had no idea what was happening, and it was awful. I mean, it was really hard, and you spend all of the first game with Joel and Ellie and their relationship, and with how rocky everything is with the two of them in the beginning of this season and the game 2. It's really just like, it's a gut punch for sure. So I think people are going to be shocked by it for sure. I think that they're. I think that
this is Red Wedding level.
Yeah, but I think that I'm going to say that most people will accept it and continue on because the show has already built such a big fan base and has kind of become this
cultural phenomenon.
Yes, yeah, I guess people just love zombie and infected shows, really, with all the drama that goes on in them. And I think that there's going to be people that want to see it through and see what happens. And now, I mean, if anything, people will watch it because they want to watch Ellie, get revenge and kill Abby or whatever they think will happen, right?
Oh, boy.
So I think that there'll be people watching still, Yeah, I think it's handled really well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's a lot of focus here, and I think this is good on the Wolves, the LWFs that are...
The WLFs?
What did I say? LWF? I said words. The WLFs, their focus on making sure that they don't hurt anyone else.
Yeah.
Abby does kind of lose her shit as expected in the moment because she's just so blinded by revenge. It's like Mel that kind of has to step in.
Yeah,
as
all
well
of
as
them
Owen.
Are.
But the other guy, I always forget his name.
Well,
he seems to be like
he's
into
like a shit.
it.
Yeah,
he is a shit.
And also, yeah, when Ellie scratches him with the knife and stuff, he's gonna kill her. But yeah, Owen and Mel and all of them are kind. I mean, Owen even says I want to convince her to leave. I don't want to be here.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there.
Which again, this just kind of shows that they are they're just like everyone else. Like, these are just regular people, right, that are surviving in this world.
Yeah.
And they've had people that they've loved killed.
Yeah.
And, you know, we kind of learn more about, obviously we'll learn more about Owen and Abby's relationship. We get a little bit of a taste that there might be more of a connection between them than the others. But they care about Abby, and they're trying to stick it through for her, ultimately. But yeah, they're all, I think, very uncomfortable with just how enraged she is.
Yeah.
I mean, she is totally seeing red. She's totally blinded by everything.
Yeah.
You know, she goes back on so many things of, you know, saying that she's not going to hurt people, saying she's not going to hurt Dina, and then saying, like, if you don't answer this, like, I'm going to kill her.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think she's bluffing either.
No.
I actually think she would.
She does say that she wants to bluff them. Like, that's her plan.
I know, but I think that in that moment when Joel is in front of her, she wants to do anything she can to hurt him. And she just wants him to give her, like, whatever little reason that she can justify it in her mind. Like, she already knows she's going to kill him, so that's already there. But if she, like, I think she would have. I think she would have killed Dina. I don't know. That's my feeling on it. I think she's just so upset and angry.
I mean, they ultimately leave Dina...
Yeah.
As well as Ellie alive.
Yeah, they do.
Much like they do in the game, although Dina isn't there.
Right.
It's just Ellie. It's Tommy instead of Dina. But they left Tommy and Jackson.
Yeah.
So they've definitely changed some things there. And then Jesse and Ellie go out on patrol together instead of Dina and Ellie, which takes away our first sex scene.
Yeah,
with Ellie and their big romantic moment, which they're going to save that for the movie theater in Seattle, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have their romance blossom.
Yeah.
While Ellie is still mentally unspoiled, where she hasn't been broken by the death of Joel and is on this path of revenge, right? Like when her and Dina have their romantic moment in the basement of the library, which they just cut the library out and make it like a 7-Eleven, and Jesse and her are in there instead of Dina. So that's kind of an odd change. But they wanted to shift it to Tommy's and Jackson.
Right.
Dina is with Joel instead of Abby, and then Jesse is with Ellie instead of Dina. That's a big shift around, and it does take away our moment of kind of the calm before the storm of Ellie and Dina having this kind of like, you know, because even if they do have a romantic moment later in the movie theater or somewhere else on their journey to Seattle, Ellie's going to be so fucked up in the head as to where Ellie should be in a great place before Joel's death.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of bummed that we got rid of it. I know they're probably going to try to condense it so it doesn't become redundant when it happens in the movie theater. I can only imagine that's where it's going to happen for the first time instead. But I just would have liked to have seen it happen to her so she could have one happy moment. But I guess we kind of already get that on the dance floor.
We sort of do. And
it's not the same exactly, but...
I think it works. I think it makes sense as far as, like, timing and everything. You know, obviously one of the things with the game is that you can kind of, you know, you just have a little bit more time, I suppose, to go into a lot of things that, like you said, could be redundant. But I like the switch up. I like that Dina's with Joel. We've kind of already seen that they have a pretty close relationship as well.
Well, sure, that's gonna
add to Dina wanting to go with Ellie, of course, because she's kind of, you know, in a way maybe taken him as an adoptive father too, or at least like, you know, he's kind of the dad to a lot of people, it seems, or at least, you know, he wants to be. And I like that Jesse and Ellie get some time together as well. I don't know. I think everything with that is fine. Like their brief moment at the 7-Eleven, and, you know, obviously that's when we find out Eugene was a firefly and everything, and Ellie's reaction to hearing that and kind of piecing it together a little bit. So I like all of that. But obviously, the big reason is that Tommy has to be at Jackson for what goes down. So
there is something that happens in that 7-Eleven scene, if that's what we want to call it. I don't remember if it actually said 7-Eleven, but it It had like the...
It looked like a 7-Eleven logo.
Whatever it was. Convenience store, if you don't know what a 7-Eleven is. But there is a moment there where, you know, Joel, what am I talking about? Where Jesse says to Ellie, you know, Eugene died, and, you know, it's kind of like, you know, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Like, he was infected.
Oh,
That's
sure.
that.
Yeah, he can't be
and
saved.
The look on her face
Yeah.
of like, I could have saved him.
Yeah.
My death could prevent... To her, so Ellie is going through this thing once she finds out that Joel did what he did, which we are going to get that flashback. That's one as well, where she's going to find out and they're going to have their fight, whatever. She believes in her head that basically everyone who's infected after Joel saves her,
yeah,
it's like Joel's fault.
Yeah, but then it also becomes, it's my fault too. Because
Sure.
it's like she's...
By extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. There's that
The fact
guilt.
that I'm alive
Yes.
means that everyone
Yes.
else has to die.
Right.
And the only guy that could do this to me is now dead. And there's nothing I can do about it. So my life is basically pointless. I was the savior to the human race.
Yeah.
Speaking of the savior to the human race, that's some of the lyrics of the song Through the Valley,
Yeah.
which I listened to twice today in preparation for this episode. Fun little fact, the very first teaser trailer we ever got to The Last of Us Part 2 was Ashley Johnson singing Through the Valley as Joel walks through the door of a building and looks at all of these dead bodies that Ellie has left in her wake. And he asks her, like, are you really going to go through with this? And she's like, I'm going to find them and kill them all. That definitely gave us a much different impression of what the game was going to be about, since Joel, of course, is alive in that. Although speculation for me is that that's supposed to be his ghost. We're not supposed to know that. But that scene never takes place in the game. It's just kind of like a tease. Maybe they had a different idea at that time. But if you watch that trailer, let me tell you what, those graphics still hold up to this day.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this song title, and we do get that very same song by Ashley Johnson. Not the one in the trailer, because that one's a little different, but the recorded one off the Rarities record that you can listen to on Spotify. We do get that song at the end of this episode. So I was very happy to hear it. We did not get Future Days. We probably still will.
Yeah.
That's going to be another flashback, is when we're going to go back to like years ago when Joel maybe is teaching Ellie and pulls out the guitar and sings Future Days. But
I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
So
if I was going anywhere with that or not, but go ahead.
Well, just, the changes between, Jesse and Ellie and Joel and Dina and Tommy at Jackson and everything, like moving from that. Abby's kind of also partly the reason why the infected are unleashed from the snow. Now, she's not entirely responsible because they do discover in the piping the tentacles, the tendrils of the fungus in there. So
I think they were coming anyway.
I think they would have come anyway, but it seems like there's two groups, right? So there's the group that Abby falls on top of that comes out of the snow, and then when they hit the pipeline, there's another group, and then both of them go to Jackson.
They converge.
So I think that if it had just been the ones, if they had just hit the pipeline, it would have been cut in half. Is what I would say.
Maybe.
So I think that Abby does still have an impact on Jackson.
We don't know,
being
though,
attacked
because
like that.
they're already up, right?
Are they already up, or does she wake them up because she falls on them? Does she...
She wakes them up. What I'm saying is that we don't know if they were going to be called up out of their slumber because they're already up, chasing her. The other group was awakened. So it would stand to reason that the other group, because these networks can go miles and miles. I mean, we see it here. They're miles outside of Jackson. If one was woken up, once again, it would stand to reason that the other one would be woken up. And when they see each other, they converge into the same horde and make their way towards Jackson. So I do personally not believe that Abby was responsible for creating half of the horde size to be heading towards Jackson.
I do. I think that actually adds to her destruction, and even though it's unintentional and she's not necessarily wanting to kill any of those people,
why would
I
it
just
alert
mean that it
one
has
horde
an
but not the
impact.
other one? Out of curiosity.
Well, I don't know.
What's
It's
your
just
argument
possible
against
that they're
that?
not like connected, and like there could be like different connections there. We don't necessarily know that they're all 100%
So she just so
connected.
happened to wake up the one that wasn't connected? It's like a 50-50.
She's pretty far away. I mean,
They're pretty close together because
Yeah.
they literally run into each other.
yeah.
So they're in
If
like
anything,
the same
let's
area.
say they are connected and they would have gone together. It could have also been like staggered a bit, right? Where they can take care of like this first wave and then they get the second wave.
You just want to blame things on Abby.
No, I just think that it's a butterfly effect. I think that it's not without like cause that she like falls into this pit of infected that then get up and also end up running towards Jackson. I think that there's a definite like link there is all. But regardless, I mean,
Yeah.
all of the infected that end up going to Jackson, like they can't handle the amount, like the sheer volume of them, even though they're very prepared. And even in
Yeah.
the opening of this episode, we see, Tommy telling them like the plan,
Yeah.
if anything happens, and they follow it exactly. But it's like there's just so many. There's so many of them.
Yeah, it's cool to see the infected using tactics for insulation.
Yes.
Where they're kind of burrowing themselves into the ground and then stacking. I'm assuming they all kind of like get into the ground, because in the last season we see that they're coming from up under the ground as well, and in this they kind of like lay bodies over to protect themselves because they're like a big unit, and
Yeah.
they stick together and do things together like a hive mind. We get the porch talk that was missing from the first episode, which it shouldn't. It should be missing, so it makes perfect sense here.
Right.
It is alluded to in this episode when Ellie is talking to Jesse, and she's like, I'll go out with Joel on patrol, and he's like, well, I thought this and that, and she's like, well, we're good now, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So they clearly had the talk. So we are going to see her turn around and come back and have that talk. Probably not until next season, though. So it's gonna be a little while there.
Yeah, she acknowledges that like no matter what happens between them, like they're family, and like she's always gonna be there for him. He's always gonna be there for her, which obviously just makes it even worse because they don't get to say goodbye to each other or like see each other before everything happens. She wants to go out on patrol with him, but he's already left with Dina, and yeah.
One thing they do well in the game, but better here for sure, is the sense of community with Jackson. I know that's much harder to do in a video game. We try to illustrate it by like the snowball fight and be like, oh, there's kids out playing. Like this is a safe place and they care for their young, and like this is like a return to normalcy. With this, they have like town meetings and they're prepping together, and when things go down, they all stand by each other's sides and fight. And we do. I mean, we get a huge fight here. The biggest one we've seen in the show for sure. The closest one we got to this from the previous season is when Melanie Linsky's like character is running after Sam and them, and Joel's up there like sniping, and they have that bloater come up out of the ground, and they're fighting all those army guys. But this is like 3 times the size.
Yeah.
This is massive, and we get kind of this Helm's Deep Lord of the Rings versus the Uruk-hai kind of battle against the infected. And I think that this was very thrilling, very well done, very good zombie attack. And much like the Uruk-hai, they get the big one to come and burst through. Although in the other one, of course, it's like a bomb that they put under there. But with this, it's just this sheer strength that's able to smash through the wall. And then you get Tommy's further into the game than he should be, because he's got himself a flamethrower unlocked. You don't get that until deep into the game. So he's got cheat codes on in this one. And he's got that thing, and it takes an entire tank to take down a bloater, which is pretty accurate for the game.
Yeah.
A bloater takes a lot of flame-throwing fuel. So it was kind of funny to have him run out, and then that thing comes. And you think you're going to have the kind of cliche moment of he's in his last moment and he's standing there and then someone's going to shoot it from the side and save him. You think it's going to be like Maria or whatever. Nope. he just drops finally dead of his wounds of being on fire and kind of burning from the inside. So I liked that. And then the best scene,
The dogs.
the
They
release
released
the
dogs,
hounds.
So unfortunately, a lot of them probably died.
Yeah, but like I told you,
Yeah.
they have just as much right to fight
Yeah.
as anybody, and if everybody in Jackson dies, they're just going to sit in their cages and starve to death, or the infected are going to come in there and rip them apart.
They do a good job.
They have,
and they defend.
They kick ass.
They're
man.
really great.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
it's like reinforcements when they're let out, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything. Anytime zombie movies, like obviously the biggest. Zombies are their most dangerous when there's a horde of them. Yeah. It's just no matter, and they're prepared. They're super prepared. They're practiced. Like they have done everything that they can do. Yeah. But there's just so many of them. Many. And, that's always like a really terrifying aspect, I think, of zombie media. I know they're infected, but they're essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Just in case. And I mean, they're for all intents and purposes dead anyway. But yeah, the bloater's great to see that again. I do like that we're getting this like different infected behavior and just how they're acting, as you had said earlier, with them covering themselves and burying themselves in the snow.
Yep.
But yeah, it's Tommy and Maria. Like, I mean, it's just Jackson is devastated, and I like that this is the backdrop because Joel wants to turn around once he's rescued Abby. Which, I mean, I guess we can talk about that with Abby. After she falls down and everything, we get the great, chase scene where she's...
So good.
The fence is pushing up against her and it's super scary. And
then,
he saves her.
Yep.
He saves her.
She doesn't wrestle with that at all.
Not at all.
He says, I saved you. I saved your life. And she's like, what life?
Yeah.
Because he took everything from her.
She's very much like it. That doesn't matter. Brutal. But yeah, I love, obviously, they're in the barn or wherever they are, and Dina's like, Joel, and she's just like, Joel? Like, what? Like, can't believe my luck.
Right.
Anyway, so they rescue her and they're trying to leave, and they see Jackson's burning, that the fires are going and there's an attack happening, and Joel very much wants to go back, but Abby convinces them to go to the lodge. And to have that be the backdrop, Joel like looking out and being like, okay, we gotta go head back, like everybody get your stuff, because she promises like, oh, we can help, like we'll go and fight.
Yeah.
I like that that's there. And the same thing with like Ellie and when she sees what's happening too, and she has to she's still looking for Joel at that point, but she sees what's going on in Jackson, and just to kind of know that there's like they're not going to go home to the same place. Like, Jackson is going to be different no matter what. And we definitely see, I mean, hundreds of people had to have been killed. Like, I feel like Jackson is going to be potentially uninhabitable, honestly. It's hard because
not
like
uninhabitable.
They're gonna try and pick it up, but I mean, with how many people have been lost, and like you got to think that like the people that are out there are all the able-bodied people that can fight. Like all of the elderly, or just people that can't fight, the children, all of them have been locked away. So they're most likely all of them are still safe, but so many people that were like the protectors, the providers, whatever, are gone. So it's going to take a lot to rebuild this community, which I think will that'll make it even easier for Ellie to say, okay, I'm going to go out and hunt for Abby now.
Well, I mean, it is going to add to the tension of like, we need you here. Like, what I was saying about Tommy and Ellie and Dina and Jesse and whoever's there. And 4 people, I mean, ultimately we find out in the game, Tommy goes out first after telling, them not to do it. He runs out. Then Ellie and Dina follow behind. And then Jesse follows them.
Yeah, sure.
So you got 4 people who are all, I mean, you've got 3 patrol people and 1 leader. And they're all gone. Right, out to get revenge. And what would be cool, and an addition here that we don't forget about Jackson, because we don't deal with Jackson again in the game. We do flashbacks where we see Jackson, you know. But what would be cool is to see kind of the repercussions that Jackson has being hobbled like it is, and having lost a leader and 3 patrol people, 3 strong, able-bodied people, if they suffer some massive consequences in, you know, in their absence. That could definitely be a worked-in element to this story that was not included in the first one. But with their defenses down right now, and what they ultimately end up losing in addition to what they've already lost, that could definitely leave them even more vulnerable to further attacks.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, maybe they come back and Jackson's been overrun. We don't know the fate of Jackson by the time of the end of the second game. Like, we know some things because Tommy comes, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're not going to get that deep into the game. That's not going to happen for at least another season or 2. So that could be years from now before we get any of that shit. But I do think it would be an interesting element to go back to Jackson, see what Maria's having to deal with, see Tommy's child left naked, right, without his father's protection, and raiders come in to try to take over Jackson, and they're fighting alone.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that worked into the story.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's just, this is definitely one of those parts of anytime in like a post-apocalyptic story when like people start to try and rebuild a society or rebuild like, you know, the shambles of like a town, and it's a very harsh reminder that it's like you're not in the same world, and kind of anything, you know, it's very fragile. And I like the idea that maybe there will be some repercussions to all these, you know, Ellie and Dina and Jesse and Tommy. Like, if everyone, you know, if all those people leave Jackson, it'll leave them even more vulnerable. You know, especially Tommy, because Tommy already is the leader.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be messed up with Joel's death, though, too. Like, that's the thing. It's gonna be like on top of everything that's already happened.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other person that feels the way that he does, likely, is Ellie.
Yeah.
I mean, Dina's gonna be messed up about it too, but it's just like the two of them, like Joel is their family. Yeah. And for Tommy and Joel to have survived so long, like past everything with the, you know, with Sarah and all of that, like it's gonna be really, really hard on Tommy.
And if you remember in the first season, when Joel and Ellie are approached by people from Jackson that ultimately lead them to Tommy, and they have their reunion, there is talk of a rival kind of gang that wants to infiltrate Jackson. Yeah. Right, and that's why there's kind of a fight between Joel and Maria about the refugees coming in and how little room there is, and that, you know, there's like that threat of like, who are these people? We don't know them. And in the previous season, we know that they are dealing with, of course, who wouldn't want to get into Jackson, this stronghold that has resources and you know, like a strategic advantage. And so I could definitely see parts of that coming back up again. That being said, we only have 7 episodes. I'm not exactly sure how much of this we're going to cover, but if you look at the trailer, we're pretty like, we're not deep into the game or anything. No, but we're at least, I think, 1/3 of the way through the game with the trailer footage that we've seen.
I think we're going to spend like the first half of the next episode in Jackson, and then I think definitely by the end of it, like Ellie and Dina are going to be on the road, 100%, gone.
100%.
Like it's got to happen like that.
They'll be on their horses riding towards Seattle by the end of the next episode.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, excited for the rest of the season. Yeah. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's like, I think this season and the next season are going to, you know, I think I've always thought like game 2 is so much more heavy than game 1.
Oh, for
Even though there's so many horrible things that happen with Joel, obviously, and just with other people. The second part of this story, like, is really, really dark.
Yeah.
For so many characters, but Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to spend some time with Abby.
Yeah.
I think we're going to probably see Abby, Owen, and company get back to Seattle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the next episode, but maybe we don't see Abby at all. I could definitely see us getting back there, them in it, running into Isaac to really show like what they're going through in their lives and what their lives are like. We got to really start laying the groundwork. We can't let people seethe for too long if they're going to try to win people over on Abby. So I think that we probably will need to get to her. And I think, she's going to wrestle with, like, was that the right thing ultimately to do?
Yeah.
One change from the game to my memory is I want to say that guy whose fucking name I can't remember wants to kill Ellie, and it's Abby who talks him out of killing her, and they're just like knock her out.
Yeah.
And also in this, she does not get knocked out. She actually gets to crawl over and lay with Joel's body.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of an emotional change there, where we get to kind of see her lay with him. The get the fuck up and all that stuff is the same. We get the Seth scene where he makes some sandwiches and apologizes.
Yeah.
And of course, Ellie's like, no fucking way. That's almost identically the same. But yeah, I like the emphasis on like, because Abby allows Ellie to live multiple times. This is not the first, or this is not the last time. This is the first time, but this is not the last time. And Ellie just, she becomes even more committed to this revenge than even Abby does. Because we're going to start to see the similarities of where Abby was at the beginning of this season to where Ellie is by the middle to the end of this show. You think Abby is hell-bent on revenge. You haven't seen shit yet. Ellie is so much more fucking. Ellie does so much worse
to be like
than Abby does.
This is like what Tommy says, that Ellie and Joel are so similar. So it's like imagine what Joel would do in this situation, like how far he would go, how much his morals would slip and everything. Like this is going to be Ellie's path. She becomes Joel. Yes, it's going to be her path.
Which is the irony, right? She's so mad at him for what he does to save her, and then she goes out and does just as terrible of things, if not worse, to avenge him.
Yeah.
Right? She becomes her worst enemy.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I don't get how anyone doesn't see this as a fantastic story. Yes, it's bold as fuck.
For sure.
But I do want to say this. Thank you so much to the guts of Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann and HBO for allowing them to take a story that they already knew there was a huge backlash over and allowing them to recreate it almost identically. I am very, very thankful, because lesser men, lesser humans, lesser people would have tried to give, this is, I was worried we were going to have a Rise of Skywalker thing. I was worried that after the response of The Last Jedi, they were like, oh shit, we're losing our base. Let's try to appeal to the people who have left and piss off the people who have stayed. And that was such a dumb decision. They were like, I know Rian Johnson created this story, and it's bold, and we stuck by it before, but they're so mad, let's try to appease everyone. But what they really did is they tried to appease the fans who had already bailed and were like, fuck this. People you don't want to try to appeal to, fuck those people. They're gone, let them be gone. And then they, alienated the fans they did have left by being like, oh yeah, you know all the shit that we said previously, that Rey's nobody and all that, and Palpatine is now the villain, all just like Reddit thread the movie. Everything they asked for, they're like, I wanted there to be a romance, and I wanted there to be this, and they were like, let's just give it to him, fuck it, shut him up. We can't risk it because there's too much money involved in this. They could have went that route. They could have definitely looked at that and had that moment where they're like, you know, it pisses people off. We just got to let Joel live. We're going to just change the story, you know, give him an alternate reality, really appease the people who left, try to get them back. And all that would have done is just piss off people like us who love it and have stood by you the whole time. So to be more like allegiant to your fans that have stuck with you is the smarter play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they understand, like, you can't make everyone happy. And stories aren't for everyone. Like, you know, there's not really these universal, like, there will always be people. That's true in so many parts of life that will not agree with with whatever it is, right? Yeah. And especially when it comes to film and media in general, it just isn't going to be for everyone. And I think that they understand that very well. So, yeah. Wonderful episode. Heartbreaking. R.I.P. Joel. You will be missed.
Yeah. I watch reaction videos to these episodes. There's one girl I watch in particular. I'm very curious because she's such a crier. And she loves Pedro Pascal.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be sad.
I definitely think I'm not gonna watch too many because you know whatever. But I do feel like there's gonna be a few that are like I'm out, I'm done, no fuck this. I'm not watching this show anymore.
Yeah.
You're gonna get those reactions, and that's okay.
Yeah.
This is the visceral response, and I think that this is such a brilliant story because it has such a valuable lesson to it that I think speaks to the amount of people who can get on board with it versus the amount of people who can't. You know, there's people who have that ability to kind of grow and understand the kind of folly of circular revenge that's never ending.
Yeah.
And there's people who have that ability to break the cycle. And then there's people who just can't let shit go. And they perpetuate that cycle and they become what Abby becomes. They become what Ellie becomes. And somebody has to break the cycle.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating to watch the amount of people who go one way or the other. And I feel it's probably pretty similar to how these people would react in these scenarios. You know, where they're just like, no, I'm a vengeful person. I want him fucking dead and I'll never forgive her no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Abby. And I hope that you will by the end of this as well.
Yes.
So, brilliant performances all around. And, I'm very, very, very interested to see the response to this. I've been waiting for this since the announcement of the first season.
I know.
I was like, how are they going to respond? Especially with how beloved Pedro is.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like a new added layer, right?
Sure.
Joel was a beloved character.
But now you have this actor who has such a following.
Oh my god!
I me's fantastic.
The biggest
too.
name on earth right now.
He's such a like sweetheart. Like you see any interview of him.
Yeah.
He's just like seems like such a wonderful person, and he is in everything. He's literally in like every single like trailer we watch for upcoming movies.
Yeah.
He's there.
Yeah.
Such talent. I think he did, has done such a wonderful job with Joel. And I mean, these people, like, if they're only watching it for him, what are you going to do? I mean, they're only watching it for him, they're going to go away, and then they'll hear, like, oh, there's a flashback, and they might watch that episode, but there's so many other, like, there's so much other media out there that has Pedro Pascal in it that you can watch, and if you just want to look at his face and, swoon over him. But,
a lot of people hate Bella Ramsey, too, so when she becomes, like, the focus of the show, and it's just going to mostly be Bella, who they hate, and then Abby, who they now hate.
I know, yeah.
That's going to be a lot to ask of people.
We'll see how everything falls.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
If for some reason you are one of those people who hates the casting and you get on it because it's like, they don't look like the characters. Oh my god, the amount of fucking stupidity that I see constantly with that shit. If you don't think that Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal are perfect for this role, you have not watched enough interviews with them together. Please do yourself a favor. Watch interviews with both of them or anything with both of them in it that's outside of the show. They're the cutest fucking, like,
duo.
surrogate
Yeah,
father-daughter duo
Yeah.
I've ever seen interviewed. They love each other.
They have such
They're
chemistry.
putas.
Yeah.
Putas.
I'm sure this was like, really hard to go through. So, yeah.
Joel's dead, get over it. Just kidding.
So sad.
No.
R.I.P. Joel.
Grieve. Have your grief and get prepared. It's about to get a hell of a lot darker.
Yep.
If you think this is it, oh my God, this story gets so much more depressing.
Really, really does. So
Naughty Dog is just like, happiness? We don't do that here. We're not interested.
what's that?
What's happiness? Fuck that. All right, guys. Until next week, we'll see ya.
Bye.